welcome to Behind Moriah, where each week we're going to dig just a little deeper with the people that make up Moriah. First off, we have Pastor Jaret. Hope you enjoy. What's up, everybody? I'm here with Pastor Jaret.
Yeah.
And we have a couple quick, just a little discussion.
You know I like to talk, so I don't know.
That is true. It will fill some time. So we have to ask, what brought you to Moriah?
Yeah, so the funny thing part with Moriah was I was working a city job over in Terre Haute, and one of my old youth leaders kind of reached out to me and said, hey, you know, the church is looking for a full-time pastor. And at the time, honestly, I was interested, but I was scared. I mean, you know, anytime in ministry, you know how that is. And so it was one of those crazy story, and I don't want to take the whole time because otherwise this would be a 15, 20 minutes. So here's the thing is, first I blew it off because I enjoyed having weekends off. Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, as long as I halfway showed up living, then I had my job. So I was mowing the grass one day, and I was listening to some worship music because that's what I do when I mow the grass. And I thought, man, just listening, and I felt like God's like, do you trust me? And I was like, well, of course I trust you. Then it's kind of like, then what are you doing? And I was like, what?
Like God just kind of slapping you.
Yeah, like it wasn't an audible voice, but it was just like inside this conversation was happening. And I was like, wow, okay. And so submitted my resume, and they wanted me to come in for an interview. And I'm one of these like blunt, honest people. So like I gave them everything, just blasted it. I was like, if they don't want me, here's the opportunity. You know, so that's really what brought me to Moriah. You know, it's kind of a longer story than that, of course, but I mean, that was the biggest part. You know, was God just really kind of spoke to my heart and was like, what are you doing? If you trust me, then what are you doing? So
Absolutely. All right, so when you got here, let's say the first Sunday, what's the thing that just, okay, this is awesome?
I love the worship pastor. He was awesome.
See,
yeah,
I feel like you have to say that.
Exactly. To me, it was interesting because like my church background was like the first church I was a pastor at. Whenever I left, we were at over 1,300 people. We're running multiple services. I mean, it was a huge church. We go over to Terre Haute. We were around the 125s, 150s. But like my heart has always desired larger churches. I love, you know, the worship style usually that goes along with that. Yep. Love the atmosphere, and so I was really leery. I was like, I remember the church was out in the middle of nowhere. That's all I really remembered about it.
Well, and just as a preface, you had been here before.
Yes.
Me as youth pastor.
Correct.
So,
yeah, you asked me to come in and speak, and so I'd spoken, I think, twice, and that's all I really remembered. And so I told my wife, Jody, I was like, I just don't know, babe. Like, a country church, that doesn't really, you know. And I remember walking away, and I was like, wow, that kind of felt like family. And so that's really what the first Sunday it did. Like when I walked away, again, I did enjoy worship. I'm not saying that just to say it. That was definitely a draw for me because the church in Mattoon I was at, I loved their worship. Like I thought it was amazing and awesome. The church in Terre Haute, like it was good worship, just wasn't my style of worship. Yeah. And so to me, it was always like the next church I go to has to be the worship style that I would like, that I feel like I can worship with and connect. And it was definitely that. And so those two things, so claps to you too, because it was definitely, you know, those two things were like, man, okay, I could see myself there.
Awesome.
3 months later of messages. But anyways, that's a whole different story.
It was all in God's timing.
Yes.
All right, so we have to ask, if you could pick one Bible story, and maybe one that impacts you, or maybe one that you just think is such an awesome story, what's your favorite?
You know, man. There's like two that really get me, and of course, like one of them's David and Goliath. Not necessarily for the David and Goliath part, but just King David in general. Like I love to read. I read one of the first real books I read cover to cover since forever was Facing Your Giants by Max Lucado, and where he breaks down David's story into more today's language, I guess, and really puts it in story format. Yeah. And just enthralled me because it was the first time I'd ever really read a Bible story in story form, and just enthralled me. And so I think for me, you know, there's that, and then there, of course, there's Isaiah's Commission, which isn't really a Bible story, but has deep meaning to me of how I came to, you know, being a pastor. But I think probably David, just King David in general, because you see this arc of David, being small, coming up, killing Goliath. He's so awesome. He does all these awesome things. Then running from Saul because Saul wants him dead, and David has chances to kill Saul, doesn't take the opportunity to kill Saul, sins against God on the way, and then we see him become king, and then we see, and to me, you see the humanness of David. Like, when I think of David and Goliath, I think, like, man, that guy's amazing. You see David with Bathsheba, and I'm like, that's like legit today. Yeah. Like that, you see that in the news all the time. And so to me, that really is one of my favorites. I always go back to because you see the arc of who David is.
Yep. And it's God maybe propping up a young kid in an awesome way, and then you, like you said, you really get to see the humanness of it, and like where he has problems. And
definitely. Because sometimes we think these Bible, people that are in the Bible, and we're like, man, they're so awesome, they're so great, and we see like Judas, and we're like, that guy's a punk.
Yeah.
Like,
in hindsight, that's he was terrible.
Yeah,
okay.
He's a terrible guy. But yeah, you're right. And so for me, like David and the other thing I love about it is like we never really teach kids in my opinion, we don't teach them very well the real story. Like, we don't talk about him cutting Goliath's head off, and like in my mind, like I'm thinking like he's pulling him by the hair and like raising it up like a Braveheart scene.
Yeah,
I'm like, yes, that's what it looks like.
All right, so maybe related, maybe unrelated, but what's your favorite Bible verse?
My favorite Bible verse would probably be Genesis 1:1, and people always are like, what? Like, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And here's why I say that. For me,
it's easy to remember.
It is easy to remember. That's key. That is key for me in my old age. But to me, it's one of those, like, it shows God's promise to us. It shows that God is an artist and that he has this plan and he's laid it out from the beginning, and everything else falls into that. And, of course, John 3:16, and Isaiah's commission again goes back to, I'm a really big Matthew 18 guy. Yeah. But to me, Genesis 1:1, just because to me it shows how awesome and amazing our God is. And oftentimes when we read scripture, especially most of us like New Testament first, we're New Testament, but to go back into the very beginning and see like, man, that is God's, beginning, the alpha of it all. And just see everything he laid out after that. It's just like, to me, mind-blowing to be like, God really is this amazing artist because he'd set in place in the beginning all this, and then you just look at everything that God's done since then, of the covenants, sending Jesus and all those things. So again, it's easy, and there's a funny story I'll share real quickly. And one of the reasons I love Genesis 1:1, I was in youth group one time. I was teaching youth group, and a girl wasn't paying attention. And I said, you know what? I said, you need to pay attention. I was paying attention. And I said, okay. She'd been in church her whole life. And I said, then tell me what Genesis 1:1 says. And she was like, and she was a junior high girl, so maybe this wasn't the best thing as a youth pastor to do. But she goes, I love you. And like everybody just lost it and started laughing. And I felt horrible for her.
And she never came back again.
No, she didn't come back. But it has always been a running joke now. Like, Genesis 1:1, I love you.
And she says it with doubt too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know this isn't it, but we're gonna throw it.
Yeah, we're just gonna throw it out there.
All right. So we have some. We have a working title for this segment, but I'm gonna go Slick 7. Okay. We have 7 rapid fire questions, just right off the top of your head or whatever you feel.
Okay, I like.
Sometimes literally in the gut. So all right. So what is your favorite candy bar?
Snickers,
hands down.
Hands down.
All right. Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi all day long.
Now, there are, because I figure someone's going to be like, well, I don't drink pop. So there's that option too. But Pepsi,
Pepsi, hands down.
Me too.
Now Chick-fil-A sweet tea's in there, Sprite, Mountain Dew. But if I had Coke, Pepsi all day long.
All right. So what's scarier, snake, spider, or a bat? And picture yourself trapped in a room with one of these.
I think probably a bat.
After working at the school, I can definitely say that's what I'm most afraid of.
It had to be between that and the snake. Like,
but a snake, if you get higher, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. A bat, yeah. And those things are, definitely bat.
Yep. All right. Mountains or ocean?
Ooh. It's rapid fire. We'll go ocean.
All right. Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Hands down. Forget waking up early.
I was like, 7. Is that a time during the day, or what does that even mean?
Waking up at 5 o'clock, I'm like, people should not awake.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, so what's your favorite season?
Favorite season, fall. Hoodies, sweats, bonfire.
Football.
Yeah.
All right, so last one, the most important one.
Most important one.
Well, of these anyways. Favorite pizza topping or toppings?
I'm going to sound like a 3-year-old.
I know what you're going to say.
Cheese.
But your youth pastor is showing right now.
Yes, exactly.
Cheese.
Like cheese, plain Jane. Now, I do like the crushed red peppers on it, but FYI, and I don't mean this against this pizza place, but Casey's Gas Station Pizza does not agree with me, Ridge, and you know that.
I know this. Now, as a youth pastor, listening to all those junior high kids always shout cheese, I always feel like it's a waste of topping because it's $9.99 for pizza. They put cheese on it regardless.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, give me a discount. I didn't put a topping on it.
Exactly.
So.
100%. I always thought the same thing. I'm like, hold on. I'm not putting anything on. You're already going to put cheese on it.
That's right. All right, so that's all we got for today.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for doing it. I appreciate it.
And peace out.
Peace out.